Hey guys, this is Clay, and I translated Caesar 5.47, in which Caesar has just sent out a bunch of letters in 5.46 to a bunch of his underlings, Crassus, Fabius, and Labienus. And here we see what they all do after they get these letters. And I thought the theme of this screencast would be reuniting, and so I have some musical lyrics, and of course I have some friends, not my friends, those are strangers, if you were wondering, and yeah, let me get started. So, at around the third hour, Caesar implied having been informed of the arrival of Crassus, one of his underlings, by scouts. So, having been informed of the arrival of Crassus by scouts, he proceeds 20 miles that day. He appoints Crassus over Samara Briwa, which is a city in Gaul that the Romans control, and assigns him a legion. Because, and then all these things use relinquebant as their verb. So because in this place, the baggage of the army, so like the baggage train, the hostages of the state, the public letters, and the grain, all which he had brought to this place for the sake of tolerating the winters, remained. So all these things remained, and the grain he had brought in order for them to tolerate the winter. So this is a gerundive of purpose. Okay. So Fabius, another member of the gang, as he had been ordered by Caesar, it's implied, thus not having delayed much or at all, met Caesar. His name isn't. He didn't even put his name in here. Met Caesar on their journey with his legion. And the book says that the fact that Caesar's not putting his name is some sort of power move, that he's sort of present, but he's not mentioned. Well, I thought that was kind of interesting and worth mentioning. So yeah. So yeah, Labienus, as you know, is also part of the gang. He's Caesar's right-hand man, and Caesar also writes him a letter telling him to come. But as we remember, Labienus is really close to those Treveri who tricked old Sabinus and pretty much wiped out a whole legion. So he's got that problem. So, okay. Labienus, with the death of Sabinus and the slaughter of the cohorts having been known, or having come to light, when all of the copious Treveri, of the many Treveri, had come to him, to his camps, Labienus having feared lest if if they had made a departure similar to a flight, like a flight, from their winter camps, that they would not be able to sustain an attack by the enemy. Especially, and Quos doesn't really have an antecedent, but you can just put those whom he knew were elated by a recent victory. So all that is sort of establishing Labienus' situation. And then Labienus again sends back letters to Caesar. Okay, so you get this, that he knows that the Treveri are trouble, and they have pretty much surrounded his camp, and he fears that if they leave, that they could not be able to handle an attack from them, especially because he knows that they're really pretty high morale since they just wiped out pretty much a legion. So he's sending letters back, and then we're pretty much about to hear what he's sending back to Caesar. So he says, with what great danger he would lead out the legion from the winter camps. So this is kind of hard to do in English. But so he's pretty much saying it would be really dangerous to send out his legion from the winter camps. And he detailed, or he reported the thing having been waged, or what happened in the Eubrones. So he talks about what happens to the legion that got wiped out, and he literally teaches that I think it makes more sense to say he informs Caesar implied that all of the horsemen and the foot soldiers, all the many horsemen and foot soldiers of the Treveri have, well, because it's present, this is past, so established themselves, or took position only 3 miles paced away from their camps. So in other words, he's saying that the Treveri are really right next to them, and they have no way of getting to Caesar, and that they couldn't take the risk. Well, so pretty much the moral of this story is Labienus is a buzzkill, and he doesn't want to hang out with Caesar and his buds. And that's pretty much what I got out of that. And you should hate Labienus. And if that isn't clear enough, you should see this. That's Labienus, by the way. He is being a Debbie Downer. So, thank you for watching. I think I've summed it up pretty well. And see you soon. Bye. Yep.